Evening, everyone, and welcome to our support group. I'm going live okay, I see it saying I must rotate my video. I thought this will work, this orientation will work. I'm using both YouTube. So, hello, YouTubers. This is my first time on YouTube Live and second time on Facebook Live, but apparently I need to uh, turn the screen, but it will take me a bit of, it will be a bit of a mission to do that. So let's get down to it. And I think today I'm going to be chatting for a much smaller time or a much shorter time compared to the last time. And then I will then leave the rest of the time to just the comments. So the today's talk will be a little bit shorter. So when we look at the effect or the long-term effect of the COVID-19 or the quarantine or the lockdown that we're having, we see that there is a lot of people that now starting to, we're seeing symptoms of people that are starting to exhibit the psychological effect or the psychological impact of what has been, the lockdown for them. So I want to start at the article that was written by World Economic Forum, and it's entitled "Lockdown is the World's Biggest Psychological Experiment." And I think it's a very interesting title to say that lockdown is the world's biggest psychological experiment. And the reason why that is that it's a world's biggest experiment, it's because about 2.6 billion of people have been under lockdown. So you can imagine, I mean, 2.6 billion people. This is I'm not very good at math, but I think it's about a quarter, if I'm not mistaken, of the world's population. So you can imagine now this massive or so many people being under lockdown, being under quarantine, the impact, and the now starting to show the symptoms, and that is why we have named today's topic to say that what are the long-term effects or what are the long-term impact of being under quarantine or of being under lockdown. So firstly, let me greet all of you. I want to also greet those who are joining us for the first time. Welcome. So if you're joining us for the first time, if you are a regular, welcome as well as a regular. And I hope you will find today enlightening, informative, educational, and that you will be able to take some few nuggets for yourself to be able to use them for you to be able to survive and to be able to cope with this crisis of the COVID-19. So in continuing, you can post your questions live. I do have a team of skilled individuals who are around with me. They are co-facilitators. Yes, physically they're not here, but they are here online with me. They will be able to address your questions. They will be able to address your comments. Again, also if there's any issues with sound or anything like that. I know earlier on Facebook said, because we're both on YouTube and Facebook said I must rotate my screen a little bit, but I think that will make for a mission in terms of adjusting everything, and that will also steal into our time, our precious time that we have together this evening. So what I was just saying is post your comments, and as I keep on addressing the issue at hand today, the co-facilitators will also then be able to, be able to comment to you or address any issues and questions or comments that you have. So I was on the fact that the World Economic Forum has named the lockdown that it's the world's biggest psychological experiment. And What that means is that because there's so much of the population that is under lockdown, the ramifications of it and the later on ramification of it are still going to be felt. Yes, there are many people who are already feeling, that they are claustrophobic, that they are irritable, that they are frustrated, they want to get out of there, they want their booze, they want their friends, they want their hugs, they want their kisses. But it looks like, according to the reports, that this is just the beginning. That we will be paying the price for a longer term, not only on a physical level. Yes, on a physical level, most definitely, especially because of the deaths, because of the healthcare systems, especially in countries where the healthcare system is not up to par, or it's not, coping, and even countries that are up to par, that are supposed to be coping well, we have seen that they are not coping well as well. So this, so this will result in secondary epidemic burnouts and stress related to absenteeism as well. So what is also reported is, and I saw a meme, I think that's what it's called, on somebody's status, to say a legend will be asking for sick leave, or for a leave after lockdown. So, naming those people who will be asking for lockdowns as legends. And I don't think it is as simple as that, these people are just being legends and asking for time off. But there will be fear of going back to work, because people might be afraid that there will be infected with the COVID-19, or because of the mental health illness, not just because of the mental health, because of the illness, the physical illness, but especially because of the mental health, where, in at work, we're supposed to be engaged, we're supposed to be, in our sharpest, we're supposed to be productive. But if you are now stressed and depressed and thinking about finances, thinking about all the work that you could not do with your kids as a teacher in homeschooling, then that is going to be the causes of stress in the after effects. And also, in the latter part, I will say, in the latter part of the year. So what we're saying is that I think it's helpful to take action to mitigate against this effect. And this is the very reason why we're having the support groups. We're not waiting until you can see us. We're not waiting until we can meet again somewhere for you to be able to, get help or be supported psychologically in that way. So that is why we're running things like support groups, or SADAG is doing the interventions that it is doing. And speaking about SADAG, I want to highlight the research findings that SADAG published yesterday, the 21st of April. So these are recent. So over about 10 days, SADAG has been running a survey across the different social media platforms, through Facebook, through emails, inviting people to fill in. And a number of respondents obviously responded and gave very good data in terms of where the world is, and how people are feeling psychologically. So this is an online survey on mental health and COVID-19. And these were the results. I mean, to me, to see these results, to hear of these results, it does not come as a shock. It does not come as a surprise. I think it's expected, given where people are, given where, what people are feeling already, and the feel on the ground. So this is actually hard science to prove this, what we're thinking and what we were, thinking that this is what is happening, or assuming that this is what's happening. So this makes it to be concrete in this study. So number one, it has shown that people are afraid of the COVID-19 spread, or to be infected. So meaning that people are highly anxious of contracting the disease. And it's not surprising that people are highly anxious because they have seen what happens when people contract the disease. I mean, US has reported more than 40,000 deaths. That is a lot. In New York alone, every 2 minutes, a person passes on. That is only in one city. A person passes on every 2 minutes in New York alone on a day-to-day basis. So that is the statistics that we're looking at. And people have reported on this SADAG's online survey on the mental health and COVID-19 that their fear is contracting the infection. And then the second one being finances. And I think in the last session, I've touched on it, but obviously not in details. And earlier on, I was on an interview where before myself, another interviewee was speaking about finances. Finances has hit hard, and I think that is why President Ramaphosa has made the interventions that he has made, obviously with his team, with his task team of intervening and helping and assisting the South Africans in dealing and coping with the COVID-19. So I think this is a very welcome announcement that the president has made to be able to assist those who are in dire situation, who are in desperate situation, who are destitute, who are, finding themselves not being able to just get by. So it was, and for some reason, I think it was also to a large effect, some form of psychological relief to know as a nation collectively and those individuals who will be receiving those monies, be it in a form of a grant, be it in stimulus packages for small and medium businesses, be it in tax cuts or for individuals, that to me, I think might have brought a little bit of a psychological relief as a collective, because it has been reported that it's a second. So that is one of the things on a global level where when a government is able to listen to and is able to be empathetic and raise such kind of money, to help with that impact of finances, of the stress around finances. And then the third one that was reported on this survey with SADAG, the online impact on mental health by COVID-19, it was relational problems. This does not come as a surprise that relational problems become one of the biggest issues that people find themselves struggling with, because people who were not used to living with each other the whole day, 24/7, like literally 24/7, they are now forced to live with each other 24/7. They now have to be in each other's spaces. They have to be in close communal spaces where they don't have time to be able to breathe. They don't have time to be able to move around, to be able to de-stress. So this also does not come as a surprise that relational problems have come up. And I think for people who are in situations where they feel trapped, there is a lot of help that social development has put in place, especially where there is abuse. I will very, very highly advise that reach out to those spaces that are provided by our government. So extra accommodation has been allocated to help people to be able to cope with such situations. And maybe going back into that cause of relational problems, and it was also highlighted in the interview that I was on earlier on, that after the lockdown in China, it was reported that divorce rate has gone up. And it is quite unfortunate that in a space where people were supposed to be supposedly enjoying each other's company because of the opportunity to live with one another, or because of just as a thing of when you cannot be in relation with somebody when you are at work and so on, that this becomes a cause of trauma. It becomes a cause of distress. I think for me, especially as somebody who specializes in relationship and marriage counseling, it is problematic and it is quite concerning. And what I want to say to that is for people to go back to the drawing board, to not throw in the towel, especially in spaces where there's no violence per se or abuse. I'm not saying people should go back to the drawing board where there's violence and abuse. I think for those instances, people should seek shelter. They should seek help. And only come back when things are safe around them or when things are dealt with properly. I'm speaking in terms of spaces where there is no such thing as abuse um, or violence, where people can start to engage with each other, to start to get to know each other as families, in playing board games together. Right now, as parents, we are inundated with homework. Because of homeschooling, most of the parents are asking that, are we going to get our school fees back? I'm not sure. In terms of those negotiations, I wish that can be the case. I mean, that would be nice because we are full-time teachers now for close to 2 months since it was even before the lockdown was implemented, where, school kids needed to leave the space earlier on. And maybe I want to actually latch into that to say, how do people cope